You're not meant to stay where you started off at. What I mean is, just because you start off on one particular path, or working from a certain tradition, or utilizing a system, it doesn't mean that you're meant to stay there. If you're practicing magic for the long run, then what you'll realize is that you're on a spiritual journey, and you have no idea where your destination lies. You have no idea where you're headed. You think you know, you think you have an idea, but you really don't know what you want, what you're seeking, until you experience it. You won't know it until you experience it. And so, you're sailing blind. You're wandering. And so, I encourage you to allow the process to unfold. Let go, and let spirit be your guide. Like, for example, here's what I mean. When I first started practicing magic seriously, devoutly, my original intention was to engage in right-hand path practices, and right-hand path practices alone when it came to my magical endeavors. You see, I was attracted to the left-hand path, but I was afraid for a long time. I had a lot of preconceived notions, a lot of biases, a lot of beliefs, a lot of ignorance to sort through. In the system that I started practicing in, although it begins orienting you within the right-hand path, it immediately calls for the practitioner to change directions. See, the system that I started practicing in, although it began orienting me in sort of Christian sort of practices, it immediately calls for the practitioner to change directions. And so I soon found myself diving headfirst into the left-hand path. But shortly, like just before engaging in my left-hand path practices, I started venerating my ancestors. And after like 2.5 months or so of establishing a relationship with my ancestors, I then began to work with spirits of the infernal divine. And I liked the progress that I was making. I liked where I was at. I liked where I was headed. But what I kept experiencing within my awareness was what felt like a sort of spiritual tug of war between where I desired to go and where spirit was leading me. After performing one of the rituals, I then encountered the King of the Crossroads, and ever since making that connection and having the gates opened up for me, it's been ancestral spirits around me ever since. And it's interesting, right? Because although I now find myself swimming in the waters of my ancestral current, for a long time, I was afraid to approach these spirits. I was more afraid to approach these spirits than I was of approaching spirits of the infernal divine. I always had the intention to do this, but it was something that I kept putting off because, of my biases, my preconceived notions, my beliefs, my ignorance. I thought I knew. I thought I had it figured out. And listen, I kicked, I screamed, I punched, I fought, I got dragged on my face, but eventually I learned spirit had other plans. You see, if I would have just clung to my beliefs, my preconceived notions, my biases, my ignorance, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I encourage you to get out of your own way. Let go. Let spirit be your guide. You'll be easy.